we're going to head over to fellow Olympian Ed Drake, who's going to take us through all of the latest news and tell us what's going on in 2021.
Thank you, Emily. This season is going to be a little bit different. COVID has curtailed some of the racing and the calendar is looking a little bit different this season, but we are still getting racing, and what you'll see on the TV will be the same as always. So they've cut some of the races. They've tried to keep both men and women and also the speed side and the tech side separate so that they're not having too much intermingling. So that means that we will still get the big races. We will still be heading to Kitzbühel, we'll still be heading to Adelboden and the likes of those races, but it does mean that we won't see any crowds at all this season, which is going to be a bit of a shame. They won't be able to keep the crowds off there totally, so if you've got a lift pass, you'll still be able to get to the sides, but there just won't be any stadium skiing, which will be a bit of a shame. But we have kicked off already this season with Solden, which was a couple of weeks ago. We saw the women race on the 18th. They kicked off the season, and then the men race on the 19th. Marta Pessina of Italy picked up her second World Cup win of her career. Brignoni, who is the overall champion from the 2019-2020 season, picked up second, and Petra Vlhova picked up third. She went from 10th on the first run to ending up third on the second, so she had an absolute stormer. On the men's side, we saw Lucas Bratton, who is a Norwegian young gun. It's the first time he's ever podiumed, and he went straight to the top step with a fantastic second run. The second position was picked up by Marco Odermatt, former world junior champion. He finished just 500ths behind in second. And Gino Cavietzel, also a first-time position on the podium, rounded it off with a third place. On a British front, we saw Alex Tilley pick up 27th. She had a really, really good weekend, but she just managed to make a mistake right at the crucial part where you don't want to, off the steep onto the flat, which meant she was carrying quite a lot of less speed through that final section. But all in all, she did kick off with some good skiing, so it's promising signs for her going forward. As we're recording this, we have Levy double women's slalom this coming weekend, which is the 21st and 22nd. So if you've missed that, make sure you catch up. You can see it anywhere online. You can catch up on the Ski Racing podcast. We have all the information on there. And also coming up, which is going to be a super exciting race, is a parallel giant slalom in Lech, Austria. Both the women and the men are racing, so it's a parallel giant slalom, not normal giant slalom like you'd see on the World Cup. The radius is slightly shorter and the distance between the gates is also shorter, which means we should have some exciting racing. That is going to be on the 26th and 27th. From a British perspective this season, Dave Riding is looking in great form. He's switched back to Fischer skis. He's sounding very comfortable. He's looking forward to this coming winter. January is going to be an absolute belter if you're a fan of slalom. There are 9 slaloms in January to get your head around. Charlie Raposo races in the giant slaloms. He's already had a crack already this season in Solden, but didn't make the second run, but his chance is looking good for this coming season. And on the ladies front, we've both got Charlie Guest and Alex Tilley, who will be competing in slalom and giant slalom. So hopefully it's going to be a bumper season for the Brits. Okay, so I think I covered everything. There was quite a lot of information to get through, but yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, it is definitely going to be a really interesting season this year. Ed and I were on the team together, and this is actually really bizarre, being sitting behind a table talking about it rather than going out and training. So yeah, it's quite nice that way, though. I like it. So what do you think, Ed? Like, I was thinking, as an athlete, going into kind of an Olympic year next year when it's kind of Olympic quali and stuff like that, what's your thoughts on that?
I think it's going to be really difficult. They can already start qualifying for the Olympic Games as of the start of this season, so that's definitely going to be in the athletes' minds. I think it's really difficult not knowing if the goalposts are going to be moved in terms of when we're actually going to get the Olympic Games. I think signs are that it should happen as planned, but obviously none of us have got a crystal ball.
Well, I know, and I think that's the difficult thing, because as an athlete, you're just really focused on goals, and you work all these little steps up to this ultimate goal, and there might be shorter goals in sight, but kind of not knowing if that might change and the goalpost might change, like you say, is always a little bit scary. So the athletes have almost got to change their mindset completely and be a little bit flexible, and also, you know, it's a pretty stressful time, Olympic criteria and hitting all those games, and a lot of competitions have already been cancelled and changed and postponed and things like that. So yeah,
I think it means that you're going to have to really perform all the time, because you can't just look at the backstop of whenever qualification sort of end date is, because you don't know what the period preceding that's going to look like. So the fact is that, a cliche of sport, but every race is going to count. Every single moment you put on the skis, whether it's in a World Cup, Europa Cup, even a FIS race now, you're going to have to make sure that every single time you race, you're putting your best foot forward, because you don't know what's going to happen around the corner.
Yeah, exactly. So we've got 22 Olympics, which I do think are going to go ahead. But the exciting thing for me is the fact that in 2026, it's coming back to Europe, which has been quite a key point, because it being kind of over in kind of China and Pyeongchang, over in Korea and stuff, it was you felt a little bit disconnected to it.
It's going to be a different feel, and we haven't been in Europe for the games since Turin, I believe, in the Winter Olympic side certainly.
Yeah.
That means sort of the classic continental Europeans live for the Olympics, and I think when we've gone further afield, their focus isn't necessarily on Winter Olympics.
Yeah.
So to have them back in Europe, I think the fanfare is going to be amazing. We're going to have loads more insight from experts, and the fans are just going to get so behind it. I absolutely can't wait, and I kind of wish that I wish that I could do it.
Yeah, because you're in Canada, I was over in Korea. The time zones are always so difficult, but to actually have that kind of like in Europe, it's almost like having a home Olympics, isn't it?
Well, as close to home as we're going to get.
Yeah, exactly. and Cortina have already put like all the steps in place to kind of like to bring it home almost, and all that heritage with the skiing they have there and stuff. They're already thinking about all the plans of how it's going to affect the future of their skiing as well.
Yeah, well, and with the World Champs this coming February, that's a big hurdle that they've got to get through, and obviously with Corona, it means that that's got a slight sort of a shadow over whether that's going to happen. But FIS's focus for the 2020-2021 season, if you can say that quickly better than I am, then that's their main focus. And if nothing else happens this season other than that, it's going to be a success for FIS this season.
Talking about Cortina and looking ahead to the future, now this is something which makes me feel pretty old. We're moving forward to the future talent of Britain, and we caught up a few of our athletes.
Hi, my name is Molly Butler and I'm 14 years old. For half of the year, well nearly half, I live in the UK, in Surrey, and for the other half, I live in Megève, in the French Alps. I represent two different clubs. So for the French, I represent Ski Club Saint-Gervais, and for the English, I represent BSA, British Ski Academy. I have different coaches. I have my mum and my dad, and I have Emma Carrick Anderson and Phil Smith, who have their three boys, who are some of my best friends. Typical ski training day for me. During the summer, I could be waking up at the early hours of 4 a.m. and during the winter from maybe 6 to 8. I can train from 3 to 6 hours a day. My best results in races last year, I took the title home of English champion. At the very end of the season, I was in Morzine, and I took the title of French champion home, which I was really, really, really happy with. And that was actually my last race of the season because Corona cut it short. I really want to get down a course at the end of the year every single time and just think to myself, wow, that's a cracking run. I couldn't have done any better. I'm really pleased with that. It's not just the skiing and the racing and the adrenaline rush that I get, it's also the lifestyle, being in the mountains, having a gorgeous scenery around you. It's really like touching to the heart. Thoughts about getting to the 2026 Winter Olympics in Cortina. Quite a big thought. God, I love it. I try to focus more on the now moment, because I find that if you're focusing on the now moment, then you're really, really fully focused on everything that you're doing instead of everything that's yet to come. But obviously it's a long-term goal. Can't wait to put all the effort in to get there. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Bye.
Hi, my name is Zachary Smith and I'm 15 years old. I live in a small village, say, in the Alps. At the moment I represent Great Britain, but I've got two clubs. Villaroger, which enables me to race in the French races, and BSA, my British club, to race in the British races.
My name is Zachary Smith, I'm 13 years old. A typical training day would be usually we wake up at 6 a.m, maybe get skiing at 8 a.m, ski all morning, and probably do some training in the afternoon. I love skiing because it's my life. It always has been, and I just love skiing. Yeah. I'm definitely most proud of the Coq d'Or, which is the French Championships, which I won last year. That's my best result so far.
My name is Zachary Smith and I'm 13 years old. Well, I think that it's very possible to get to the Olympics in 2026, but I think that it's going to be very tight. My favourite ski resort is Saas-Fee, because the snow's brilliant. There's loads of World Cup ski racers that ski there, and it's just a really nice glacier to ski on.
Hi, my name is Rhys Bell. I am 19 years old and I live in Vail, Colorado and in Denver, Colorado. I race with the University of Denver ski team and for the Great Britain national team. My typical day of training begins in Denver and then we head up to Loveland Resort where we train for around 2 hours and then drive back to campus. The drives are pretty long, so I generally do homework. And then in the afternoon, I attend my classes. And some of the days I will do another smaller workout, such as lifting or riding the spin bike. My best race result, points-wise, happened last year at a college invitational race. It is challenging to set goals for this season because I'm not exactly sure what the season will look like with COVID-19, but I hope to get my GS skiing to the same level or close to the same level as my slalom skiing, and just to lower my points in both events. I love skiing because it's a really great way to find like a mindfulness with everything going on in your life. It can get really busy and it can be hard to stay focused on one thing. The 2026 Winter Olympic Games in Cortina are 6 years away, and it would be amazing if I could qualify for that. I have a lot of time to raise my skiing to the level that I need, and I just think it would be a huge milestone for me and for all the people who have helped me out along the way. My favorite ski resort would have to be either anywhere in the Alps or Big Sky, Montana, because Big Sky has really amazing free skiing that is also accessible by the lift and by Ski Patrol.
It does take me back a little bit though. I mean, all those fun times on those trips at that age.
I know, you just don't realise how much of a good time it is until you're too old.
So Ed, thanks so much for coming. But where can we find out all the info on ski racing?
Yeah, you can keep up to date on the Ski Racing podcast, and that we produce stuff every week on the World Cup, and keep up to date there.